I don't think it's the money that's the problem. I think it's the education, it's the habits. It's really, if you think about it, to begin with, it was the spending. How do you grow yourself out of debt? Well, it's because you've incurred the debt. It's because you borrowed the money. It's because you asked for a loan. It's because, yeah, you can work your way towards two different things: revenue, earnings, or debt. I can assure you that if you don't have any revenue and you don't have any earnings, it's going to be extremely hard to incur debt. That's why you pay cash. Now, granted, paying cash is a relative term. You don't necessarily bring a boatload of cash wherever you're going to make your purchase, but what you do buy, you pay for what money you have, not more money you're borrowing. Cash, greenbacks, dollars and cents, albeit the penny is pretty much done. It just doesn't make sense. um, Debit card, and you can even write a check. Although, be careful because apparently some people are getting caught up in some weird bank scam where you write a check and then the bank calls you about it. I don't know if that story is actually true or not, but can't believe everything you hear or see on the internet. Don't get me started on VO or VAO 3. But be that as it may, in order to be in debt, you're going to need money. If you have no money and you ask someone, more specifically, an institution like a bank, to borrow money, they're going to tell you no because there's no logical way that you could repay them. Now, granted, the government is a little bit different. So, when you print the money, and you are, in fact, the um, responsible party who should be uh, underwriting this and overseeing it, then I guess all bets are off. Scott Bessent says we can grow our way out of debt. We can both grow the economy and control the debt. What's important is that the economy grows faster than the debt. I mean, yeah. What's important is that your income exceeds the amount of money that you have to pay back. I mean, you got to think, well, it's important that the economy grows faster than the debt. Well, it's important that you keep your job and you keep your steady income and you keep your paycheck before your debt piles up, before you have a balloon payment due, before shit hits the fan, proverbially speaking. If we change the growth trajectory of the country, of the economy, then we will stabilize our finances and grow our way out of this.
You're referring to the CBO scoring, I believe, which is tenure scoring, and it's DC style scoring. So we think that we can both grow the economy and control the debt. And what's important, Bill, is that the economy grows faster than the debt. So what I would tell your viewers to focus on is what I'm focused on, is what Secretary Yellen was focused on, is what is the total debt to GDP? Because we can grow our way out of this. That if we change the growth trajectory of the country, of the economy, then we will stabilize our finances and grow our way out of this.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. It's definitely a great talking point. Actions, as I've said before, folks, speak louder than words. Yeah. We talked about money earlier today. I didn't really necessarily plan on doing another video today, but ironically, I was inspired. I was inspired by this X post, which doesn't happen often, or at least not as often or as much as it used to, mainly because, yeah, it just doesn't move the needle for me, folks. But this one here did. And Scott Bessent's idea of growing our way out of debt suggests that if the economy grows faster than the national debt, the debt to GDP ratio, a key measure of fiscal health, will stabilize or shrink over time. The logic is that a larger economy generates more tax revenue without raising tax rates, which can then be used to manage or reduce debt. And this assumes disciplined spending to ensure debt doesn't outpace growth. And what's most important here is that if this actually works, that our government doesn't end up spending all the extra money we're making. in personal finance, you guys knew I was going there, right? It's always about the money. Always about the money. It's always about the money with you, Kevin. You're damn right. This is akin to increasing your income to manage or pay off debt. And if you earn more and keep your spending in check, your debt becomes a smaller share of your income, making it easier to handle. For example, if you owe $10,000 and earn $50,000 a year, your debt is 20% of your income. If your income grows to $100,000 while your debt stays at $10,000, it's now just 10% of your income and more manageable, even without paying it off immediately. It's amazing how many people don't know how this works. And this is not a jab, it's just eye-opening to discover the lack of financial education that has been not necessarily withheld, because much like we talked about earlier, I feel like there will be some crowds that will say, and this is what we need to know, this is what we should be learning, this is what they need to teach us. But it's amazing what we as human beings choose to listen to, choose to be taught, choose to seek out, and then take action. I'm not sure if it was on this channel or if it was on a different channel, but I do know for a fact that Michaela Townsend took action today. Now, Michaela, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, if I'm not, I apologize. But you took the first step. Now my question for you is, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? We're going to get back to Scott Bessent here. Now, let's talk about the wealth effect, okay? And this is where people, or in this case, governments, feel richer due to increased income or asset values, like a booming stock market or home prices. Much like if the stock market crashes or the housing market crashes, you don't actually lose money until you sell. And really and truly, you're going to make your most money when you buy. That's a topic of discussion for a whole nother video. But as prices go up, as values go up, as appraisals go up, as comps go up, you ain't making any money until you sell, or at least until you cash out. But if you cash out and you don't sell, then you're just borrowing against the asset and you still got to pay that money back. The big question there would be, well, if you're going to do that, if you're going to borrow that money, what are you going to do with it in the meantime so that you can then repay it and then keep the excess profits? And that's what I'm talking about, folks. And this is what we are talking about in the mastermind. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out. It's not for everybody, but for the people who are trying to go from $100,000 a year to $200,000 a year, or from $200,000 a year to $300,000 a year or more, that's where you're going to want to be. For people who have businesses and want to see these businesses grow organically at a low cost with a huge upside in return, that's who's going to want to be involved in this mastermind. And so, yeah, it's spend more as a result of earning more in personal terms. If you get a raise but start overspending, buying a bigger house, a new car, or racking up credit card debt, you might end up deeper in debt despite earning more money. And I know a lot of people have fell into that trap, fell into that category. This ultimately negates the benefit of income growth. For instance, studies show that when household wealth rises, for example, during housing booms, consumer spending often increases by 3 to 5% for every dollar of perceived wealth gain, which can lead to higher debt if spending outpaces actual income growth. I think this is referred to as the wealth effect. Regardless, for the government, the wealth effect translates to increased tax revenue during economic booms, for example, from higher corporate profits, economic booms, and let's see here, or capital gains. But if policymakers treat this as a blank check, expanding programs, cutting taxes unsustainably, or launching new spending initiatives, the debt can grow faster than the economy. Historical examples include the US in the early 2000s, where tax cuts and increased spending during growth periods led to rising deficits despite strong GDP growth, and the Congressional Budget Office has noted that federal spending growing faster than revenue during economic expansions often worsens long-term debt trajectories. Now, I'm not going to say who's to blame for this, but I could definitely see a future scenario where we see an increase in revenue and money coming into this country, GDP growth. I can see that happening. While one side is continuously trying to make more money, the other side is continuously trying to undermine the other and spend more money and waste more money. No different than a relationship in a household where the partners, one works a lot, one makes a lot of money, and the other one just spends it all. It doesn't work. It's an imbalance. You butt heads and you make zero progress. Now, let's talk about wasting this increased revenue. Because if the government uses higher tax receipts from growth to fund inefficient or unsustainable programs rather than reducing deficits, the debt to GDP ratio won't improve. For instance, the US debt to GDP ratio was about 97% last year. And the Treasury Department says even with 3% annual GDP growth, if spending rises faster, for example, due to unchecked entitlement programs or new initiatives, debt could still outstrip growth, leaving the fiscal situation no better or, in fact, worse. And I'll let you guys fill in the blank on what that means and how that could possibly happen. We've seen this fighting since January 21st, 2025. In short, Scott Bessent's strategy can work for both personal and national finances if growth is paired with discipline. Key word here is discipline, keeping spending growth below income or revenue growth. And without that, the wealth effect or similar behavior can undermine the plan, leading to deeper debt. And the key is ensuring the extra cash from growth isn't squandered. The key here is not wasting the extra cash from growth. But let me ask you a question. Where do you get extra cash without growth? Yes, very simple answer. And if you're on Medicare and you want to save some money, give our partner chapter a call. Ask them, how can I reduce my monthly expense for Medicare? Are there options available for me? Their link is down below in the description. Their number's on the screen. It's 270-467-2426. And if you want a deeper dive and discuss further on any other topics, specifically as they relate to finances, business, and or personal, or you have a desire to grow your business or begin a business for extreme growth, then by all means, feel free to reach out. All my information is in the description down below, and I'll see you guys on the next video.